Nope.
From Atlanta, Fulton County.
But one objective.
And there's an exchange.
Alright.
Our song just died out. We need a couple seconds anyway for me to put some shit over, so we're fine.
I think we say that every time.
I know. Do we need a necessary...
You must be bored.
Is that how we're starting this one?
I just panic.
Me too. Episode 6.
Damn, we're on episode 6. That's tight.
It is. It's crazy.
You know what they say is after the 5th one, most people don't succeed.
Yeah, if you can get a 6th one out,
you made it.
The chances of success are like 98%,
yeah.
I think.
Joe Rogan said that, I think.
But not even that. Mark Twain wrote about that.
Really?
In Huckleberry Finn. He said... I
always knew I should have read that.
Yeah,
it's a classic.
He said if Huck was able to stay out on the water for 5 hours, the 6th hour he was guaranteed to catch something like 98%.
I could see the direct correlation. He was ahead of his time.
And that's what I took from Spanish class, pretty much.
Oh, okay. So we got to intro what we're doing right now. We're about to give a rundown on the history of two of the most infamous,
prolific
motherfuckers
in Spanish 2.
Class.
What? Period 5.
Yeah. After lunch?
Mrs. Chavez. Yeah, it was right after lunch.
You're about to hear the history of Blake and Garrett.
And we're just going to sit here and talk, so we're going to try to break it up into a couple, probably 2 episodes. But, I mean, yeah, so we met in Spanish class. We've known each other since...
That's where it all began. Los Alamitos High School.
Los Al.
Home of the Griffins.
Class of 2010.
Yeah.
But we're not even there yet. We're like 3
years
before that.
It was what? It was sophomore year.
Yeah.
Sophomore year, Mrs. Chavez class. You remember the beginning.
I must remember it a little bit differently
because I don't. I barely remember when you mentioned the struggle for the class.
Well, and see, and that's where that's my insecurities bleeding into my memories.
But that's me ignoring my insecurities that I did.
Well, it's also like it's also like I was at that point a year into a brand new school district, and so I was still kind of fighting for that. Like, I was in band for 4 years. I was trying to not be a band geek because I didn't feel like a band geek. Yeah, and there was no escaping that. But I played drum set, so I thought it was a little bit cooler.
You were.
And then in Spanish class. Yeah, and I mean, I always just, we were always witty and funny and kind of off the dome, like, hilarious. And so it kind of came naturally. But, I mean, what I remember is, not really noticing each other until, that class gets to that comfortable level and she gets to that comfortable level, Mrs. Chavez, where, like, we start talking over her. We start shouting shit out. Yeah. And then when that started, it was like, yeah, we were obviously, I thought we were competing for the same, like, space in the classroom, the class clown, quote unquote.
Oh, I'm sure we were. I'm not denying that it wasn't happening. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So at first, I don't know. I wasn't super fond of you, and I think, you came in, you had the first iPhone ever, and you were showing that shit off, but wouldn't let anyone touch it. And so it was just like, damn, he's
I worked for that. I was at Chick-fil-A.
Well, I didn't know that at the time. I'm just like, damn, Daddy bought him an iPhone. That's dope. And you're just like, no one can touch it. And then, now I know you break 3 or 4 screens.
Yeah.
Every iPhone.
Yep. Actually, I think it was
that phone
that broke. That chick dropped it.
Yep.
I forgot her name.
You let someone look at it,
and I was like, what? And
I remember that.
Laughed and left, and I was.
And
like,
the bullshit thing is that was the reason you were like, that's why I didn't let anyone fucking touch it. And I was like, oh god, that's gonna set him in his ways. This bitch just. No, it doesn't matter.
Now they're just all breaking.
Yeah, now they're just all breaking.
I actually break them when I get them, just so it distresses.
You're like, you know what? There's no tension. It's like you kind of broke the ice from the first date kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think where Miss Chavez went wrong was she thought, and I think she had this hindsight too of like, damn, if I put the two funniest motherfuckers next to each other, maybe they'll shut the fuck up. Whoo! Quite the opposite.
Yeah.
Quite the opposite. Dude, I think we literally sat next to each other, and once that happened, and like we even just the dialogue started.
It was game over.
Oh, dude, it was game over. It was game over. We put that class through hell, and then there was nowhere that she could seat us that we couldn't like manage to communicate and fucking crack a couple people up in the process.
I think eventually, though, I think when we talked about this before, we were liked at first, and people thought we were funny. And then we eventually became annoying.
We wore that shit.
I think people wanted us to shut that up.
We wore that shit out. We did.
And they're still telling us to shut up. And no one still likes us.
That's why we're fighting to get our shit out there. No, it's like... No, I think... No, you're absolutely right. I think at first it was funny because we broke up the tension in the class, and we broke down that, like, she's the teacher and we're the student, and we kind of... You know, we made people feel free to say shit. And honestly, Chavez was a really cool teacher.
No, she was. Yeah, she was cool.
So she kind of allowed that space and allowed that breath in her teaching for the kids to express themselves. And so, but we just weren't doing it in the right way. Mm-hmm. And I even remember, we just thought we were so cool with her, and we thought that she was so understanding. She left the classroom one time, and she was like a Coke addict, like to the T.
Soda.
And she had a mini fridge behind her desk just full of cans of Coke, right? It was like just a classic...
She partied.
Classic red Coke cans. She partied. And she left one time, and we were just like, we swooped a couple. We thought it'd be funny. And we thought that when she would come back in and she saw us sipping on a couple cans of Coke, that she would think that was amusing and whatever. And I mean, no. That did not go down that way. No. Like, I would not touch a white girl's Coke today. Like, whoo! Yeah. She was a little heated. I mean, I think she was just trying to prove a point that we crossed the line. But, I remember she told us, like, she said, I'm sending you to the principal's office unless each of you bring me in a 12 pack of Coke. And I think for her, it was having to break down that, like, communication to our parents and trying to, like, you know, she thought we would have just broken down and probably been honest, but I convinced my mom that it was extra credit. It was like, if we bring in cans of Coke, it's extra credit because we're donating them to this and this, and we get points towards the test and da-da-da-da. So my mom went out and she's like, you know what, fuck it, we're buying you a 30 pack. Yeah. So we got a fucking thing of Coke, and I came in, and she was surprised that we did that. And
I don't remember how I got them or what I said to get. I don't even know.
But yeah, we both showed up the next day with...
Did I have vanilla Coke?
I don't know. No, I think
like vanilla Coke.
Yeah, vanilla Coke was the shit. Cherry Coke, I remember that was like the stepchild.
She was
once you got into that. She was just into that classic red Coke. So we got it to her. She was fine after that, but I think we kind of knew where we stood. And then I remember she kind of like jokingly pulled us aside, like, "Hey guys, like, stay after class. I want to talk to you." And she's like, "Yeah, you guys are failing." Like, in order to pass my class, like, Blake, you must get a B on my final, and Garrett, you must get a B on my final. And we were like stressing because we realized that the previous 5 months, all we'd been investing in that classes was in our relationship. Like,
worthy investment. That's still paying itself off.
It's paying off.
I mean, I don't use Spanish today, so I call that a win. I call that a good investment.
Yeah, that's true. True that.
But yeah, that's true. We did that, and that was just to get our grade to a C, right? To pass it.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't it
like C minus, like 71%. And so
we'd study our asses off then, didn't we?
We got motivated as fuck, I remember. Like, you started Skyping me, or no, it wasn't even Skype at the time, it was like iChat, right?
Oh, okay.
You started iChatting me, and you was like, yo, let's get this shit. And we studied, and you pulled like you pulled like an 86 or something, or an 88.
Yeah,
you pulled a high B. And Grant, it's Spanish too. Like, it's Spanish too.
No.
It's conjugating.
I don't remember what I got.
It's conjugating, and it's No, but where you really impressed me, and I guess we'll get there, is when we were in Honduras and you were talking to the cab driver, and you were saying some shit in Spanish that I was like, what?
Really?
Even
Xanax, dude.
Xanax is a crazy motherfucker. No, but the little words in between, you know, like all like the transitional words.
Yeah.
Like I know the big words, but the transitional words like como and
Dude, that's
all that
Chick-fil-A
stuff.
probably.
Oh, that's
Because honestly, I mean, we didn't use a lot of Spanish, you know.
No, yeah.
Well, we'll get to that too.
Yeah.
A little bit, poquito.
Yeah, poquito. Well, it's cocina Spanish. It's Español de
yeah.
cocina. It's Spanish of the kitchen.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Anyways.
yeah, no, you pulled a high B on that. I pulled a low B on that final, and we both walked out of that class. I think I came out with a C minus, and you came out with a C, solid C.
Damn.
And she was one of those teachers that she posted the finals on like the window.
Yeah,
or something, right?
I remember walking. See, that's something I remember is we walking up to the door to check our grade. It was on the weekend or something, wasn't it?
Who were we
We had
with?
a dog with us.
We were with Carly and Amber.
Really?
And
Or
we
was it
had-
Justine.
I don't
Because
know.
they had just got a little puppy.
Puppy. It must have been Jasmine and Justine.
Something like that.
then.
Or was it Carly's puppy? I don't. Whatever.
I think it might have been. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
But we went and
and
checked
checked
our
it.
grades. We saw that we had passed, and she was like kind of
Mad.
pissed that we passed. Like I remember we walked in and we started just giving her a bunch of banter, right? So class had just finished. Like it was like the first week of summer. We saw that she was in there grading shit. We checked our finals because she told us they'll be up throughout the first week of summer. You guys can come check them. And we saw that she was in there, so we walked in. Started giving her a bunch of shit. I remember like, Mrs. Jarvis, like how you like me now? How you like me now? Kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And then when we walked back out to look at our grades again, to like tell her what we got, she locked us out of the class. Do you remember that?
I remember that. She didn't give a shit. And that was the last time we talked to her.
That was it.
Well, I think we saw her on campus, but I'm pretty sure she avoided us after that.
She was just like, she just shook her head like, you guys. And we kept walking. No.
See, that's a
I have
story
a
of our
fucking.
lives.
I have,
A good thing that went bad.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But I have another funny story about that because I knew my sister. I saw my sister's schedule when she came into high school. Long story short, like I went in there when my sister was in there. I think I was like a TA that period or something. And I went in and I just sat in a random seat. And she, you know, she was giving her whole first day spiel. She didn't even notice me. She just looked right over the top of me. And she started, and then she finally spotted me. And she just, all I could see on her face was, no. And you were in there too, right?
Did we go sit in there?
You had wood shop or something, so you managed to get out too. And we were both sitting there on opposite sides of the class, like just totally inconspicuous. And she saw us both, and she was like, no. And I looked at her.
And then we left, right?
Well, no, I looked at her and I said, check that out. She's like, you guys are not in my class another year. Like, no. And I was like, check the roll sheet. Last name Geiger, because that's how they took roll. Last name first. She saw it and it said, you know, Geiger.
Yeah.
Lauren Geiger, my sister. And she, dude, the look on her face.
I feel like I remember, and then like
We just started busting up. And
I feel like she didn't. Class started going on before she noticed, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I think I remember. Like, is she gonna notice, or are we gonna have to sit here the whole class?
It took about 10 minutes until she noticed. Yeah, she gave her spiel and then looked across the class and saw us and then.
Because there was the point I remember of like, is this going too far? Should
Yeah.
we not have come in here? Should we not be in here? I'm missing class.
Like, fuck, I don't want to sit through Spanish 2 again for another year until she notices me.
For one laugh and then we leave.
For a laugh that none of the younger kids get anyways.
Yeah.
But, no, I remember doing that. She got freaked out and I was like, no, my sister's in here. And my sister and her had a completely different, like, 180 relationship. My sister was but she was that way anyway. She was a really good student, really adamant about her work and stuff. But, so I mean, that's how we met, and then we kind of hit it off from there. I think it was even during that time that, I don't know, you could tell the story a little bit better because it was your pad, but I came over and my understanding of it was that we were having a sleepover. We were going to kick it and play Call of Duty all night.
Dude, I don't remember that. I remember you coming over and we're kicking it. I don't remember you staying the night. Which isn't a big deal, but so the story.
Well, not now.
The story, yeah, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter then either. I didn't care. I was a
At the
kid.
time, I was
kid,
like,
you know,
I was
didn't give a fuck.
like, what the fuck? Well, yes and no.
so you came over, you got dropped off, and you know, my mom was weird, so we came out together to get you, and she met your mom or whatever. And she's like, all right, I'll pick him up in the morning, and then just dipped out, and then me and my mom.
That was what my mom said.
Yeah.
That's what my mom said. It was like, oh, it's great to meet you, Lisa. Like, I'll pick him up in the morning.
Yeah, and then I remember she looked at me. I remember that. She was like, and I was like, oh. And like that was it. And then she talked to me the next day about it. She's like, I don't know this nigga.
Oh
like, she didn't care.
my god!
Like, it wasn't like,
dude.
oh, how dare they? It was just like, oh, I didn't know that.
This is the story of my life, though. Making myself too welcome. And so if that's how I interpreted that shit, holy smoke. I mean, we're here now, and I'm sure your mom likes me.
No, but like,
I'm sure
it
she's
wasn't.
fond of me.
See, that's not like a. It's not negative. I mean, it wasn't like, how dare you? It was just like, I didn't know. It was just like, I didn't know that was a plan, but. Dude, when
I thought it was a
when you're
plan.
a kid, it's like, oh, I'm down with that.
Well,
plan.
honestly, at that point, you were like, fuck yeah. We were both like, oh.
Yeah, I didn't care.
That was hilarious. What did we end up doing that night? We just kind of kicked it, played Call of Duty. I think got online and talked to all the boys.
Just made fun of some people, probably.
Called everyone bitches and used that high pitched voice.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
then we started. Well, see, here's where I'm confused. I don't know. Me, you, and Eddie didn't start hanging out till later, right? It first started out with Aaron and that group.
Well, no, because, like, okay, so when I started thinking about our history, because I knew this was coming up. What's that?
No,
Oh.
I was just the little light thing was turning.
When I started thinking about our history, I started thinking about that. Like, okay, when did Eddie get introduced? And, like, I don't think you guys realize how much you meant to me in the sense that you really took me out of that band sphere of people, right? So at that point, my best friend was someone that was in drumline with me. I was, you know, head over heels about this girl in drumline with me. You know, I was just very encapsulated in the band scene. And so what you guys gave me, or what you gave me, was like that one day a week.
Wait.
We'll get there. One day a week, like, just spending my, like, nutrition, like, my morning break with someone else, or spending my lunch.
We'd come get you, I remember.
Yeah, like, once a week, you guys would. You'd come over, you guys knew where I sat.
Right by the band room.
Yeah, you'd, like, we hung out right by the band room. You'd come grab me, like, yo, let's go get some lunch, like, and you broke that up for me, dude, and, like, you kind of branched me out, and so that's...
You just realized we were no cooler than the band yet.
No, exactly. I realized...
Not even word.
Band kids are the smart motherfuckers in high school. Like, they're the kids that, like, are working towards the future. And then everyone else I wanted to really dive in and hang out with were the kids that... Well, see, that's the thing. It's like, some kids are...
No, I'm just funny.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. And what I'm saying is some kids are exactly what I expected them to turn out to be. Like, their peak was high school, and some of them are killing it, dude. Or, like, nothing I ever expected them to be. Like, you know, graduating Biola and da-da-da-da. I'm killing it. You're fucking doing what you're doing now. Being creative, and we're still friends. Huh?
Folding boxes.
Yeah, but you're working towards something.
Anyway.
But yeah, you guys really broke up that monotony for me. So that's when I met Eddie, and I met Aaron, and I met Kaylin, not my ex Kaylin, but Kaylin from high school, and I started meeting, you know, more people, Danny, Brad, da-da-da-da-da. Once that happened, dude, it was all over. Because obviously, like, I was funny, and like, we just had we had fun, had some good times together, but, it's like...
Yeah, then, so we had those times. See, Kate, I remember you had more times with, like, there was a time when I wasn't hanging out with you and Aaron and them. Like, you guys had more events together than I was able to go to.
Well, now, that was what was weird, is like, once you got a car and stuff, you started losing freedoms. As much as you had access to places, like, you lost some freedom. And so we started doing this thing called DGAF Fridays.
Yeah,
like, don't give a fuck Fridays. And we would just pick a random spot every Friday and skate to it. And we'd skate to it, and we'd, like, hang out, make jokes. We'd go get, like, you know, coffee bean and just, like, roll around and do funny shit. We'd always end up at Kaylin's house. We'd always end up in the jacuzzi, like, just hanging out, doing some shit. And it was innocent. It was high school stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, yeah, you were working your ass off, too. Like, you worked more than anyone I ever knew. And I remember it was funny. One of the first times we, like, drank together. I think we were drinking. We were walking around Belmont Shore, and we were young. And I was like, "How much do you make, dude? Like, how much do you make working as much as you work?" And you're like 3 figures, dog. And you and Eddie started laughing so hard, and I couldn't figure. I was like, "Why do you gotta be a dick, dude? Like, just tell me how much you're making." You're like, 3 figures, dog. And I was like, we were all cracking up.
Was it over in Naples?
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly. But no, it wasn't even.
Time. We were drinking some random shit in the fridge we found.
Yeah, right? But I don't even think your mom lived there at the time. Or what? Had she already moved there?
Dude, my memory is bad.
Pot is not good for short-term memory.
I'm piecing it together.
Tidbits.
This is why this is good.
Yeah, we're kind of piecing it together. But I mean, I remember that, and then obviously like kind of the stories that you guys have heard with the gas masks and the smoking in the oven and stuff. Like that very much took place throughout high school. We got mischievous together, and I'm glad we got mischievous together at like 16. Because if we were like getting mischievous together now, we would get in severe trouble.
Yeah.
But we snuck into the army base, dude. We snuck into the military barracks.
In the army base.
We played airsoft.
That's really bad idea. That's really not
We had
smart.
a bunch of real-looking fake guns, and we were shooting at each other.
But that's their own fault for having such a sick setup like that.
Dude, it was the perfect airsoft. Yeah, it was a perfect airsoft arena. But yeah, I mean, I did. I pooped in one of the places, dude.
Dude, we were in. You wanted to poop there.
At that point in time, I don't know what was happening with me. I was just like willing to shit places.
You were in the shit.
No,
dude.
but okay. Granted, we used to drive around, especially when all of us started driving. We would drive around and we would terrorize people.
Dude,
we would hit trash cans.
Yes. Yep.
But not only that.
What's your record? How many? I know you got a big record.
Mine's 7 trash cans in a row, and it fucked my car up.
Yeah.
You
got in trouble for that.
I did. At that time, I was driving a 1976 Buick Skyhawk. If you knew me at the time, you'll know that car because
it was sexy.
It was a part of my personality. Yeah.
You used to bump me with that car.
All the day.
Badass bumper.
All day. I had a rubber bumper on there like 6 inches deep. And
so
I remember just thinking like, this thing's American steel. This is invincible. And just boom, 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 boom.
Dude, there was one time I remember we lined up trash cans. Like they were separated and put them together. We're going full speed. As we're going, the guy is coming out from his side yard. Remember that? I don't know if he was coming out. He was just there. Like he was somewhere over there.
I remember.
And he just nailed his trash cans. Some of them had shit in it. We just kept going.
What I remember is the trash can that was full hit the tree that was planted like on that little patch of grass between the sidewalk and the street, and all the trash inside just went flying over his front lawn. I remember that.
Not a good day for that guy.
No.
Great day for us.
Yeah, it was a good day for us. I had some memories in that car, and I mean, yeah. So we used to hit trash cans, and at that point, I think it was like whatever his name was, something Butler or whatever.
Tim Butler, you shit in a bag.
And that's what
we lit it on fire and put it on his doorstep.
And he accused me of lighting his.
No, he didn't know it was you.
Oh.
He didn't. He just told people that someone did it. But
his front
didn't really know him.
And
that's the best part.
And his front door caught on fire, is what he said.
That's what he said. But how does your
No, we didn't know him. But how did he know to call Brad?
He knew them, and you know, that dude's been fucking around since forever.
Oh yeah.
I don't think he'll ever stop.
The first memory I ever have with Brad is throwing peanut M&Ms at people at the baseball field.
That perfectly describes Brad.
And I was working and he wasn't. He was there watching his brothers. And I'm working and he's like, we're throwing peanut M&Ms at this older couple. This guy walks over. And he walks over and he's like, "Are you guys throwing peanut M&Ms?" And I'm like, "No, sir. Like, I'm working. Of course not." And he's like, "All right, like we're getting hit with peanut M&Ms." The second they turn around, Brad chucks one at his back, and I'm like, "Brad." That's my first memory, and that's when he had the long Sheckler hair and shit.
Always trying to piss people off.
That was his MO. But so we'll move on. So I mean, that was kind of high school, and I remember.
And we would ditch school sometimes.
We did some weird. Ditch school a couple times. We've already talked about a couple of those stories.
We need to bring some of those up.
No. But before that, I mean, even then, like, we had a place to go to when we ditched, and that was because you started dating Carly.
Yep.
And I was there on that
Beginning at the end of my life.
Beginning and the end. I was there on that first date, dude.
Ooh,
what did we see?
We saw
Meet the Spartans?
No, it was epic movie.
Epic movie. And I wanted to... it was me, you, Carly, and Lizzie. And Lizzie, we had already given her a bunch of shit in Spanish class. Yeah. She was a part of that whole Mrs. Chavez Spanish class.
Sure,
Garrett and Blake Garrett and Blake getting to know each other, and we put her through some shit. And so it's me and Lizzie and you and Carly, and you guys are just macking the whole time. Because I knew, I'm like, it's the first day. Like, all they're going to do is make out, and you're all like a horny little 16-year-old. We had already talked about that before we went. Like, yo, my mom's going to drop it. And your mom dropped us off. You're like, yo, my mom's going to drop us off, but we're going to go in, we're going to hang out. Like, we're going to make out. You know, we had this shit planned out to a T.
I was so scared.
Really?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Of course. Anyone would.
Yeah.
I was so nervous my first date with my first, like, serious girlfriend. But it's always the first dates that show you what the relationship's gonna be. Like, is it gonna be cool? Is it gonna be weird, tense, awkward? Is it gonna be fun, relaxed? So like my first date was my car broke down, and she was a trooper, dude. And it was like, yeah. So
on your first date? Damn.
Yeah, the cable broke, so I couldn't put it into like a higher. Yeah, the Skyhawk. I couldn't put it into a higher gear. So I ended up putting into like, and I couldn't put it in park. And so I kept pulling my foot off the brake and it kept moving forward. And I'm like, I feel like it's not shifting into park, it was automatic. And so I ended up pulling the gears all the way back to like first gear, you know how they have L2, L1.
Yeah.
Pulled it back to the lowest gear and then I put it back up to the front. And it stayed in that lowest gear. And so I drove home with my car revved at like 6,000 RPMs and I'm going 15 miles an hour. I'm just like, and she gets out of the car and she's like, do you want me to ask my mom to like get someone to tow you? And I'm like, no, we're good. Like, it's fine. Like, I'll get home, you know? I'm like, no.
Damn.
And she was, dude, she
Jared,
was so cool.
It follows us. It follows you.
Yeah, but it was cool though. It was good. Like, that's when I knew, like.
That's a special person.
Fuck that shit.
No,
so here we go. So we started driving together. We started like ditching school, getting in trouble, doing shit like that. And then we never had a class together after Spanish.
That was only class band. You were in some higher classes, bro.
I appreciate that. Damn.
I was with Eddie in some classes.
Oh yeah, that's
dude,
true.
I'm with Eddie in class, dude.
Fuck. No, it was honestly my dad wouldn't let me slack. Even in my senior year of high school, my dad made me take advanced math trigonometry. Like I couldn't chill, dude.
I was like, math senior year? Nah.
All my friends were taking finite. They're like, I just want to get into a 4-year. Like, I'm gonna take finite, and I'm like, grinding.
I said community college, no math.
That was not an option. But it was strange because we were pretty close throughout high school, right? We had a lot more of those, like staying at each other's house, sneaking into Los Al pool together.
Ooh, that was fun.
Smoking a lot of weed.
But before we leave high school, I have a great memory.
All right.
When Carly's class graduated, me, you, and Eddie went, and Anthony, Pedroza, I think, and we smoked before.
We all went to the graduation.
We got so faded. And we went
No. Okay, are you gonna talk about the national anthem first?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Which one? Do you want to hit one? Because I got two. Memories.
You can hit it.
There's the one where the national anthem was going on.
And what am I wearing? A houndstooth fedora.
Before we mention what you're wearing, everyone's standing up. They're doing the national anthem, and there's this guy in front of us wearing a hat. I don't know the exact words you said, but you said something like, "Yo, you can't wear a hat. It's so disrespectful."
No,
it's something.
It was more sarcastic than that. It was like I was talking to you, but I was talking loud enough for him to hear, and I said like this is America. Like, this fool can't take his hat off.
Oh yeah.
And then
you had a hat on.
You looked at me and I had a fedora on, dude. I had a fucking hat on.
You was though. And then
so faded, dude.
The other part was there was a helicopter flying over, and they're in the middle of talking or something at the graduation, and you're like, dude, what if that helicopter just dropped a fat stack of pancakes? But
I don't even remember
you
that.
were like dead serious, and I was like, what?
It's like
I'd be down.
on this
but-
whole bitch, just a stack of pancakes.
I would have been down, but that was hilarious. We can leave high school now if you want.
Damn.
I just want to make sure we got
yeah.
that.
Cause like we
got that
just
story.
kind of like we had those random moments of just high schoolness throughout high school together, and you guys helped me break up that monotony of band and grinding and classes and shit, and so it really worked. But it was weird. It was like the second we graduated, and I'm like not even embarrassed or ashamed to talk about it because it's bigger than like I got really into the church, like I got really into my faith, and I'm not religious now at all. Like, in fact, I would consider myself an atheist if I didn't have to like back myself up on that idea, because like I'm not going to get into a debate.
Yeah.
Get into a debate. But like I got into my faith, and I and even as I'm getting older, I'm noticing that like the reason like that was such an important time in my life was because it gave me that sense of community, especially after band was done and after high school was over, and we had that like. We did not have that every day hanging out with the same group of people. Me rehearsing 40 hours a week, right? So it just became a community. It became like a really awesome group of people to kick it with.
Oh, Garrett.
No, so I started going there because of a girl, but because of that girl, I found another girl there. And so
Really?
Yeah, so I started going.
I don't think I knew that.
I started.
Wait.
The reason I got into that youth group, anyways, was Sarah. Yeah, it was
okay.
Sarah, absolutely.
Yeah, I kind of knew that. Yeah.
So that's the reason I started going, because I thought like, all right, I'm gonna be that dude that like when her boyfriend slips up, I'm just gonna swoop in on that shit.
What happened?
We kissed and it was weird.
Yeah.
So then and then me and this other girl just hit it. I mean, Kaylin. I don't know why. I'm not even gonna talk like that, dude. This is life, dude. This is what it is. And yeah, so I met Kaylin and we fucking hit it off. But short, like 6 months, a year into our relationship, like, and honestly, when we started having sex, like, our focus stopped becoming the church. I mean, we stopped going to church. Like, we just were doing our own thing. We had our own flow. Like, I was going to college, she was going to college. Like, we both graduated. We were starting to do our thing, you know. And even during senior year of high school, we started just kind of focusing more on each other and stuff. And so that's why I'm not embarrassed to say, like, that's where my focus was, like, at least the first year, 2 years out of high school. And you were still, like, kind of in party mode. Like, you were with Eddie. You guys were going to Cerritos College, smoking before all the classes.
This just popped in my mind. I don't know if this was during that time, but me and Eddie toilet papered you. And, do you remember that?
You guys did.
Was it during that time?
It
'Cause I don't
was.
think
It
we
was.
were talking too much.
No, you weren't.
I think we were kind of mad, and we're like, let's fucking get them. And we toilet papered you.
Dude,
your dad hunted us down all the way down the street.
In his
across
underwear.
into the business.
In his underwear.
Yes.
My
into
dad
the
chased
business
you
across
down.
the street. And then when he found out about us, he was like, oh, come on back. But then we had to clean everything up. It was not cool.
Yeah, and I had to clean it up too.
Yeah, you're welcome. Sorry,
No, I remember
was
that.
random, but it
No,
just
that's
popped in my
fucking
head.
hilarious. Cause my dad used to be that way, dude. Like, he was so protective and so controlling in that way that like when he heard someone like creeping around or
Who the fuck's out there?
dude, most guys would chase you 2-3 houses down and then he'd be like, fuck it, go back to bed, I'm cleaning this up in the morning. My dad in his undies, tighty whities, chased you, I'm sure. And
I
he
looked
told
back
me.
and I was like, he's still coming.
Dude, he was wild. He chased you guys all the way down the block and then some, and then made us all clean it up in the morning. Yeah, he chased you guys all the way down the street.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little turned on, but I had to keep that to myself.
But at that time, I think it got kind of bled out, and it kind of lost its significance because my sister was getting toilet papered a lot at the time because she had just got into the cheer program, and so she was like, our house was getting pranked a lot. Yeah, we had people throw eggs at it and shit one time. No, I knew that wasn't you guys, but yeah, and then.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you out.
No, that's fine. No, so after high school, we lost touch for a minute. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of started doing my
I
own
don't remember
thing.
the
I got
time
into my
period.
girlfriend. I got into other shit too. Like, after that, and especially after like I broke up with my ex, I got into drugs like pretty heavy. And it was interesting because I think, and I don't want to speak for you, so like, well, I was doing the church thing. Like, what were you guys doing? You guys were going to Cerritos. You guys were.
So, yeah, I was going to Cerritos College, just chilling, working and going to school. Kicking.
You guys were smoking a lot.
Yeah.
You were drinking. You started hanging out with Pedroza a lot. So like,
yeah, hanging out.
your exposure to that scene was significantly more than mine.
Yeah.
And then it was strange because then we kind of came back into each other's life. Do you even how?
Dude, you used to not respond to me
I know.
on Facebook. Oh, the podcast gets weird.
No, it was like
I used to try to hit you up,
dude,
but I think
but
I was
it's-
being a little
it's-
weird. I
it-
think I was
well-
being a little like crazy Christian.
Well, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
It was like when I was there and you weren't. It was just like I'm better than them. I'm not
Yeah.
embracing this lifestyle, and I'm not. And then when it's the opposite, it was like the like, dude.
See,
like,
but I didn't even know that you were doing that. So I didn't know what. I don't know. Like me and Eddie were just kind of like, yo, I don't faded. Yo, he doesn't want to kick it. Like, I
That's
don't know.
interesting.
You know
No,
what I mean?
I-
Like, we weren't even in, which is bad. Like as a friend, if you think
Yeah.
about it back then, we were just like, yo. I honestly
was heavy into
thought it was
coke.
always Kaylin. I just thought it was Kaylin. I thought it was always
no,
the girl.
because once we broke up and she took off and stuff.
See, but I didn't know about
I
it.
got heavy into coke and psychedelics. Like I got
See,
pretty
at that
trippy. I
point,
got trippy for a
I was
long
going
time.
to school. I think I even stopped talking to Eddie a lot, and I was just like school.
It was this weird timeline where it just didn't line up. Like you and Eddie were doing your thing and I was doing my thing, and then you kind of started to come back into like smoking weed and chilling and partying a little bit more, and then I started making this transition into, I don't know, like harder shit and just like
Yeah, I was not. You and Eddie started doing that.
wanting to isolate, and that's
And
the
then
other thing.
I was just going to school, and I was
That's
like,
where
trying to do my own thing.
You got into Biola. You started doing
But
that.
even before then, me and Eddie stopped hanging out.
When you, I
At
think you
Cerritos
saw.
College,
I think
because
you saw the
Eddie was
seriousness.
pissing me off.
You saw the seriousness of school and like trying to get to that next step.
Yeah, and
And
he kept
Eddie-
trying to. We had some classes together, and he was like, "Dude, I didn't read this shit. Can you take my test?" I took his.
Well,
I took his
I remember-
psychology final for him.
I remember one of our first conversations that we had when we kind of reconnected and we went and got lunch or dinner or whatever.
Yeah.
Was you said like, dude, I had to tell Eddie like, do this shit for yourself,
Yeah,
dude.
don't
Like
get
you
him
gotta
pissed.
do it for yourself. Like, I can't carry you through this whole fucking thing,
Yeah.
you know.
At first,
so-
it was cool. Like whatever, we were taking class together. Like we'd copy him or whatever. But then he stopped doing any of it.
Yeah.
And then like Eddie. I mean.
And then I got into it again. So you got serious about some certain things, and then me and Eddie, you know, I tripped for my first time on acid with him and had
Yeah.
one of the best experiences of my life. And then it just continued. Me and him just, you know, I let him start showing me certain things, and got heavy into coke and got heavy into ecstasy and just some weird shit. And then I kind of found my way out of that after you graduated through college and shit. And like honestly, like something I think about quite often for you and for like someone else that I still really care about is like I'm bummed that I wasn't there with you to celebrate that moment. As much as you weren't there to celebrate it for yourself, maybe you're just like, fuck it, I'm just so glad to be done with college and graduate. Like I'm pissed that I wasn't at your college graduation. Like
It was whack, dude. I'm not gonna lie. It was the most boring.
I should have been there though. It's like, I don't know, it's one of those things. And for Eddie, I want to try to be there if he ever gets to that point. It's like we should go up there and be there and be there for him. But I mean, then we kind of started reconnecting. You started kind of smoking weed, and here we are, just kind of.
Now there's more to that story. We don't jump.
All right,
in here.
okay, hold on.
We started hanging out again. I wasn't smoking yet. I was like,
Oh,
wait, I didn't want to smoke. And then we started drinking.
Yeah, we started
I
drinking.
remember
actually.
at my dad's place, the one he was renting before, when we first started to connect, and then we just started hanging out there. I remember drinking in the garage, the couch that was facing by the garage door. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
And I got heavy into cigarettes.
We were smoking Black and Milds and shit.
Dude, yeah, I remember that for sure. That was an interesting time. And then
Keep
we started,
talking. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
pee.
And then we started fucking with the little short story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What short story?
The short film.
Oh.
No, which I ended up just writing something. Just like it was just too complicated.
Yeah.
But I remember, yeah, we were shooting that at the apartment, and then we were shooting it we did a little thing at Artesia High School.
Oh yeah, it was
With
me,
Nick,
you,
and
and
Nick
Nick,
came,
Nick
yeah,
Ebert. Yeah, my homie, he's up in Lodi now, but.
Yeah.
Well, because I
And
think you got to this place where you were like wanting to start to be creative,
Yeah.
and
Well, I
was
just
like-
felt very empty after college. Not gonna lie, I just felt very like, what the fuck am I doing?
where were you and Carly at that point?
At that point, we were together. We were about to get engaged.
Because she was at Biola too. She was
Yeah,
living
but I
in the
never
dorms.
saw her much at Biola. I kind of finished when she started living there. I didn't see her much.
And
And then after that, we. Yeah, after school, like, so we were, I think we were about to, I remember we were about to get engaged at that point. We were about to get engaged at that point. I remember talking to you about it.
oh yeah, you were waiting for her to graduate. I
Yeah.
remember.
And, damn, that's a whole episode in itself.
Well, we can like wrap that into the Jamaica episode.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
Alright, we were losing a little track there. We don't
We
need to
were.
be talking about the engagement. That's a different episode.
yeah, we'll tie that in with the cruise and everything. But
Yeah, I might need some Kleenex for that one.
oh come on, but yeah, no, I mean
I'm fine, I'm fine.
we reconnected kind of around that time. I don't.
Yeah.
What set it off? Do you think? Do you
I
even
don't know,
remember?
dude. I've been trying to hit you up on Facebook, for real. I've been trying to hit you up for a
It was
while.
this weird thing where like you guys were hitting me up,
You
and
finally responded.
and I knew you guys were trying to get me to do bad shit, right? And so then it flip-flopped, and I knew that the reason you were hitting me up is you were trying to preach. But that's where my
But I
head was
wasn't
at.
really like
I
that.
know, and that's where my head was at. And that's what's fucked up is like we differ on opinions now, and we're still
Yeah,
homie. Like
that's what's really good about it, I think.
yeah,
Because
exactly.
not many people can manage that.
No, it's true. And we didn't for a minute,
Yeah.
but it is what it is now.
But it always sparked good conversations, too.
Mhm.
Which I'm sure will come up on the podcast.
Yeah, that's
We'll
very
get
true.
there. But anyways, so after that, then we did the short film stuff.
Well,
We
yeah,
kinda
I think
ended
we
that.
started trying to be creative together, right? And I was smoking at the time, and you kind of weren't. You were still
Was
pretty
it?
pretty focused and stuff. And we started with the short film, so you bought the camera, and we started kind of picking it up on the Jordan and his
And we
poker.
and then we shot the Chewy thing with Kalen.
That was super.
And that was
cool.
fun, dude. And they weren't
got
bad.
They got some views too.
Yeah, they weren't bad.
And we felt really proud.
Yeah.
Like we were really excited about doing some creative shit together. And we hadn't talked for a while, so I mean that was half of the fun too. It was like
Yeah.
kind of reconnecting on something that we were working on together.
And then
Yeah, we started doing that, and
the
then
engagement came without talking about it. Then the engagement happened, and then I needed a place, so I got the place.
so you got the apartment in La Habra, and even before. So I went with you to look at apartments there. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And we looked, and you were kind of dead set on a different model, anyways. But you ended up you got the 1 bedroom.
She wanted
Well,
the bigger
bad.
kitchen.
She wanted the bigger kitchen. You're like,
She wanted the bigger kitchen.
this is our first year of marriage. We're like, it is what it is. So you got the place, you signed the lease, and you
And I
moved
went
in by yourself.
Yeah.
How long were you in
Chilling
there by yourself?
Maybe like 6 months.
But not really, because at that point I lived in Whittier, and that
You were
was
there a lot.
that was in La Habra.
And we fell asleep on the couch a lot.
I spent probably 40% of my nights there, like just hanging out, smoking, and doing our thing.
For sure.
Like building up to the wedding though, and that was the mentality was like, you're like, dude, I'm gonna get all this shit out of my system. I want to get this hanging and the smoking and drinking and chilling with my boys in a bachelor pad, quote
Oh,
unquote.
the first time I smoked again, yeah.
Yeah, you were like, I want to get this out
I
of my
was
system before.
The thing is, I was stressed because Carly wanted me to go line dancing, and there's whole lot of insecurities and other shit mixed in with that, which is another episode. But I was stressing, and I was like, "Fuck, let's smoke a bowl."
I remember that. It was like out of the blue because I was still smoking and you weren't. And then I remember just one time you're like, "I'm down, like let's smoke a bowl." I was like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
And then we smoked, and then you called it the
I
engagement.
got one of the biggest fights. I got in one of the biggest fights of the engagement that night. Not because I smoked, but.
Well, and I guess that begs the question: Do you think that gave you a little bit of perspective?
Well, that's a separate podcast.
All right. Yeah, we'll get into that. So
I'm down to talk about it. I just.
Okay. Yeah, no, I feel you. So then that happened. Then the engagement kind of fell through.
So the engagement fell through, and
you were already.
The apartment I'd gotten. I budgeted for her account, like her money.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, either I have someone move in or I try and handle it.
You were high and dry.
We went on the cruise, so I had a honeymoon planned for a cruise, and obviously I wasn't gonna go with her, so me and you went. And we swapped that up like the day before.
Jamaica.
That's gonna be a whole podcast in itself.
Damn, that was sick. I just bought myself a ticket to Texas and we went.
We went. But we will get there. There's some good stories for that. But anyways, I came back and I was like, all right,
we
I
came back.
do this. Yeah, we came back and either I gotta do this or have someone move in. Now I remember talking to you about it and I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna try it. I'm gonna do it. So I stayed by myself and I tried it, and it was not working. It was too expensive. And then that's when you moved in.
When I was at a place where I was like ready to get out of my mom's.
Yeah.
I was like ready to do something different and like refocus, and it just kind of worked out. You were like 3 miles from.
Oh, you were just down the street.
Down the street, and so I moved in, and I mean.
We kicked it there.
We did. I wasn't paying a lot for rent, but I was helping, and I think.
At that point, anything helped.
And the biggest thing was like. It was weird. I took on this like housewifey role. I cleaned that motherfucker, dude.
I am one of the laziest, sloppiest people I know when it comes to rooms.
And I clean every Friday. So it's
I will leave dishes in the sink for a long time.
And it's weird. And I guess we could talk about that. I mean, fuck it. We could talk about that right now. It was like
you didn't like the way I was living.
I didn't know, but I also felt like that was a big way that I was contributing. It was like.
It was.
But I've learned also though that like when you come into someone else's environment and you change it up, as much as you think you're doing it for that other person and you're doing it for the better, it's like it's still a transition. Like it's still like something that other person has to go through. And so it was interesting. Like as much as I felt like you coming home and things were in a different place, but they were organized, and the motherfucker was clean as a shit. Like, I don't know. Maybe you weren't coming home to a place that you felt was home because it wasn't messy. And, like your books weren't where you left them. They were on the bookshelf, or like the dishes weren't in the sink. Like they were actually cleaned and put away. You know, I don't know.
It's not even
I don't
like
know.
That,
like
it was because it's fun. Damn, I was about to say about the messiness. No, it doesn't have to do with that. I don't know, I get weird because I get like that with my dad too. It's just almost like when I get home from work, I'm like, I need to like unwind for a second. Like I need a minute to myself, which is scary because my dad used to do that when he used to come home. I'd be like, hey dad, I need a minute.
Well, and what that turns into is a drink or a couple beers or a bowl. Yeah. And at the time you were working full time. You were grinding, dude, and I was working at Chick-fil-A because you had got me that job. Well, you weren't even just working a full-time job. You were working that and Chick-fil-A. You were working Chick-fil-A Friday nights, Saturdays, and like busting ass. And so, I don't know. It was interesting time, but I mean that apartment lasted a little bit. We had fun.
We had fun.
We did our
there,
thing.
Dude. We had fun there. I missed that apartment a lot. I tell Carly all the time. I'm like, I miss that apartment, dude. And
we had some
mad,
shit,
but I'm like,
dude. We did some
I miss
shit.
that apartment.
Oh my god, me and Vignesh stayed up all night just playing Call of Duty.
I remember.
Blow.
I was trying to go to bed. I was like, these motherfuckers.
We're just like, just staying up all night playing video games. And then there was that night that me, you, and Nick all like took too much Xanax, and he passed out on the toilet taking a shit. He was taking a shit and he passed out on the toilet. I have footage of it. Like That apartment was fun for
I
us.
grew up in there a lot.
Oh my god, that night that we got
We took
those
these little nukes. These
little
edibles,
nukes.
and we ate them. And I can only mess with the candy edibles, dude. Those cake batter ones, or like the cookie dough one.
With
I
the-
can't.
with
I
the
can't,
butter.
dude. I can't. The butter, yeah. And we ate those, and I was like, oh, I'll see if this is. And
It was
hit.
it was hysterics.
Everything
dude.
went boom, boom. It was like, you know what?
But
is
not
that?
even that. You ate everything in the cabinet.
That was another night.
To the point you
That was
threw up.
another
That was
night.
another night. Oh my.
One night
God.
was the little nuke did it, and then another night I was so faded, I just ate everything. And then I remember I was in the kitchen, you were in the dining room watching TV, or the living room, and I was like, yo, I don't feel good.
I'm like, you just ate 3 pounds of snacks, dude. Ay, ay, ay.
Man.
No, that apartment was fun for that reason. Like, I think, like, after the engagement fell apart, and after like I had gotten out of my mom's house, we just needed to spread our wings and get a little freaky. And like we got a little freaky. We fucked up on a couple school, like, work nights, school nights kind of vibe. Like,
Trisha.
but we
Remember
did our
that?
thing. Oh
You
my
remember that
God.
story?
I do remember that. Of course. Jordan and I were like Ubering. We weren't even in the Uber for 5 minutes after leaving her house. And we were like,
No, Trisha at her
Alright.
apartment.
oh, different Trisha. Holy shit. So yeah, Trisha at the apartment. We were.
That was a trip.
So the apartment setup was sick, dude. We had it was a 2-level, and we had the top floor, so we could just smoke and chill.
Yeah.
And we had a
I'm the neighbor. Oh, this is another
Oh
story.
my god, that apartment has some stories. In
Okay,
its
let's
own.
hit the neighbor first.